I'm Julie Bartkey with this session update. Last year, he spearheaded the effort to increase accessibility and improve high-speed internet across greater Minnesota. This year, his efforts are to provide parity with schools related to internet and technology use. Senator Matt Schmit carries several bills, and he caught up with us to encapsulate his proposals.
Well, we have a couple of bills that we're promoting this year on broadband, and one is a best studies review for the Department of Education to compile, best practices, lessons learned from a lot of school districts that are focusing on one-to-one initiatives. And it's become clear that a lot of districts are trying to promote one-to-one initiatives where you put a device, whether it's an iPad or a Chromebook, in a student's hand, and it can be a valuable tool both in the classroom and at home. And one of the questions we have is, once a student leaves the school building, what kind of access to the internet does that student have, and what sorts of impediments might be in place that prohibit school districts from getting the most out of these programs. And so as districts try to almost reinvent the wheel from one example to the next, we want to try to identify best practices, lessons learned, so that they're not having to start from square one. And I think it's important when we talk about technology, it's not just about in the classroom, learning in the school, but also technology outside of the classroom when you take the device home.
And let's talk a little bit about the technology, what is it, I don't have it anymore here.
Technology equity funding?
Yeah, exactly, and the revising that. And how do you see funding technology for schools happening? Is it, as you just mentioned, sometimes the problem is at the home, not at the school.
Sure. We've made great strides in Minnesota in making sure that our anchor institutions, our schools, whether it's elementary schools or high schools, middle schools, have access to high-speed internet. And a lot of times that's a direct fiber connection to the building and then wireless throughout the building. And so we've made tremendous progress over the last decade in this regard, but not all schools are at the same place. And there are still schools that are struggling just to get to that basic level of connectivity. And so we just spoke about how it's important to have that connectivity at home when a student may take a device home with them. But it's so important that we have that connectivity at the school too. And so it's really, these bills play off of each other. And what we're doing is we're proposing in equity in this technology funding so that districts that don't have the property tax wealth or other resources to have the technology offerings that some of our property tax wealthy districts do, they have a level playing field. And that students around the state are able to utilize technology in similar ways to advance their education.
Senator, you've been out talking with schools. What have you heard? Is this really a big concern at this point?
Absolutely. I have to tell you, not only do you have high costs of getting high-speed internet to some rural districts, you also have districts that right now are having to choose between technology and transportation offerings and other core elements of their education, whether it's specialty courses or just their reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so I think it's important that we have equity in how we fund technology in the classroom. And I'd like to make a second point about that technology access when you leave the school premises. I've heard time and time again of stories of parents having to circle the broadband hotspot outside the public library after school hours so that their students can access high-speed internet and get their homework done. And I think that just speaks to the fact that we need to think more about how to promote technology and broadband access both inside the school and outside the school, whether it's at home or in the general public areas.
It's early in session. Are you feeling optimistic about all of your bills at this point?
Sure. I am feeling really optimistic. I think we are continuing to build momentum around the idea of broadband and how it's important in our day-to-day lives, whether it's education or healthcare or e-commerce, what have you. I think it's really important in greater Minnesota. It levels the playing field and it promotes economic competitiveness and quality of life. And I think it was great to see the governor propose some funding for our border-to-border broadband for 2016. And I'm hoping that the Senate and the House are able to build off of that and we continue to build momentum.
All right, Senator Schmit, thank you.
Thank you.